Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Force Friday show where we discuss all things Star Wars. Joining me as ever today is Stephen to discuss a whole variety of interesting little tidbits and headlines. Stephen, the primary headline for this week's show is that clickbaity Han Solo may be returning in episode 9. We say may, Stephen, because it is just a bit of speculation, but there seems to be just a hint of some meat at the bones of this particular piece of Reddit speculation. Now, often when I discuss topics or headlines involving Reddit or an anonymous leak from Reddit, I tend to say this is utter garbage. This is just an attention-seeking basement dweller. But in this case, it seems like there's been a couple of people verified this leak. I can't recall the exact leak, but it was something, a photo was leaked from the set, perhaps revealing something to do with Han Solo. It turns out it's been verified by another person, and now there's another person again, or maybe one of the two other ones from Reddit, saying that indeed Han Solo is making a return in episode 9. Now, what they're suggesting in this article, Stephen, I believe it's from We Got This Covered, is that it may not be coming back as in alive, because clearly he gets stabbed, he fell down a massive precipice, and then the planet imploded in on him. So I think it's pretty clear that Han's dead. What they're suggesting is that it may be a flashback to a more merrier Han, perhaps spending time with his lovely wife Carrie Fisher, aka Princess Leia. So, do you think this is going to happen? Would you want to see Han Solo, aka Harrison Ford, coming back for one more shot at the much beloved smuggler, the scruffy looking nerf header? But more importantly, would you like to see him having some screen time with Princess Leia and some of these rotoscoped archive footage?
I think what you've got to remember, John, is that, and the thing that's the most important factor in here is, does Harrison Ford want to come back? I doubt that very much. I don't think he'll come back. I think he was done with the franchise after The Force Awakens. I think he enjoyed the fanfare, the build up to the film's release, etc. And possibly tinged with a little bit of regret that he wanted the character killed off. But I think he's over it now. I think he's moved on. He's concentrating on Indiana Jones, as you've mentioned, John, previously. I would love to see it back, but I would love to see the three of them back. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. With the sad passing of Carrie Fisher. J.J. Abrams, I think, might have had a bit of regret after The Force Awakens in regards to not having the three together sharing some screen time. Certainly with the narration of that film, Luke was not going to appear in it to the end. J.J. Abrams was getting let off the hook with that one. He didn't want to deal with the Luke character, and I can understand that to a certain degree, but it meant at the expense of not having the big three reuniting. I think in hindsight, I think he would like to get back and possibly do a flashback scene with Leia, Luke and Han. Just Han and Leia would be nice as well, but they already had that reunion in The Force Awakens. Luke and Han didn't.
Same jacket.
So same hair. But I don't think this is going to happen, because I don't think Harrison Ford's got any interest in coming back. It might surprise us, but I doubt it very much. It
may surprise you, Stephen. Maybe his bank balance is getting a little bit low. I doubt that very much.
No.
Maybe he wants to just get some buzz into his life after that plane crash on the golf course.
Yeah. Millennium Door as well.
Millennium Falcon Door, the Millennium Falcon Door coming down and crushing his ankle. Maybe he wants to be reunited with JJ again to see if he can repeat the process. I don't know. In terms of just the utilisation of Han Solo coming back into the story, I don't know how you would do it, Stephen, without bogging the entire story down, disrupting the tone and the pacing of the film. They've got so much still to really sort out and get. There's so much closure still to be had for a whole host of characters, the likes of Finn, Rey, Kylo Ren, even Luke. I mean, I still don't think.
Well, I was going to say, John,
had full closure.
Everything that seems to be come out rumour-wise is all flashbacks and sequences and etc., etc. And we seem to be getting bogged down with all of this. I don't want to see this. It'll be like a collection, Star Wars greatest hits, if that's the case. I don't want to see that. I want to see the story.
It's not going to be much time for
develop
the story
it
of Poe,
and conclude.
Finn and Rey.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice you know, to have all these, you know, recollections of the past, etc. But I think we're past that now. I think, in the famous words of Kylo Ren, let the past die.
Yeah.
It has to be, you know, they have to move on. They're going to be moving, certainly going to be moving on after this episode anyway, because, you know, as far as we're concerned, this is the final episode of the saga, and they're going to move into other things, you know.
Maybe it's going to be like an Endor sort of end scene, Stephen, where all the gang are back together via hologram projection or something. Han can't be a Force ghost. Leia can though, and so can Luke. So I don't know. Maybe they work their magic and
but
get
Leia's
Han.
not died. She's not died. The character. So
well, is she going to die? That's another topic for another day, Stephen. Would I like to see it happen? I'm not too sure. I love the character of Han Solo, not quite as much as Luke, and I do love Harrison Ford. He's a grumpy old sod, but he's great and he shares my type of humour. But I don't think he'd have the motivation to come back and play the character of Han again. I think he's had enough of it. I think he wants to focus primarily on the likes of Indiana Jones going forward. Maybe get some closure for that character, because that got butchered in the previous film. But in terms of just, I mean, as I said, they just can't utilise it in a way that would feel organic, connect it into the story without disrupting the pacing, and really harming the arcs and the closure that's needed for the various characters that have been set up through this sequel trilogy. So but I don't think it will happen. And in a way, I don't really want to see it happening either.
Never say never. We might be eating our words in 11 months' time, John. But
maybe the best
you're right.
The whole film.
I think that the key factor is Harrison Ford. I don't think he's going to be motivated enough to do it. I know he's never come out and said this. There's never been any official confirmation on why he came back to do Episode 7. A lot of people speculate he did it to finally kill the character off. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think he's that type of person. I think he's just a type of person that moves on very quickly from film to film. He came back for, you know, the love of the character, working with those actors again as well. He has mentioned that in various talk shows. But I think when all's done and dusted, he's moved on, and I can't see it. Just can't. I
just think he's an utmost professional, Stephen, and he just, as you said, he doesn't get too overly connected in various different characters. He's just a professional man, an outstanding actor, and he likes to go and invest himself into different characters and going forward, and that's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You've got both sides of the coin, and each has its merits. But we'll move on to the next topic, Stephen, because we haven't got much more to add on that fairly slender rumour from Reddit. The next topic is all about Disney not debuting any of the Star Wars movies in the future through their new Disney Plus streaming service. And Bob Iger was talking to Barron's via Sci-Fi Wire, apparently, and he says that almost every movie the studio has made is a $100 million plus movie, talking about Star Wars, that is. And I think he's talking about primarily domestically in the United States when he's using these figures, because as we do know, these films tend to generate well over $500 million worldwide. But he says that they're not looking to make movies at that level for the service, that they're looking to invest significantly into TV series on a per episode business, and that they're looking to make movies with a higher budget, but nothing like that. And what he's getting at with these higher budget movies is things like Lady and the Tramp, Stephen, and small scale live action remakes of classic animated shows, movies. He's not looking, and Disney aren't looking, because Bob Iger is Disney, let's be honest, when it comes to movies. They're not looking to produce any big $200 million, $250 million feature length Star Wars films that will debut on the streaming service. This isn't a surprise to me or a shock, Stephen. It shouldn't be to anyone, really. As he does say, it's almost a communal experience. It's like I was about to say an out-of-body experience, but I think that's maybe going a little bit too far, Stephen. But it's a, you know what I mean, it's a big moment in a lot of people's calendars, going out and watching a Star Wars film in the theatre at the weekend. And that's why these films make so much money. It has a place in everyone's life.
You know, I don't think you're far off the mark. I seem to recall us sitting down for The Force Awakens after all these years when we didn't think we were going to get any more Star Wars films, certainly after 10 years after Episode 3. So, in regards to this headline, it was never going to be the case. You can't. George Lucas's vision was always to have a cinematic experience for the audience of members of Star Wars community. That's what the films were designed for. It was all about visuals and sound. That's why he created these VHX, the ILM and the sound system as well, Skywalker Sound. That's why he developed these, and went on to Pixar well, in its early days as well. And certainly, I think we talked about this in a podcast not that long ago as well, in regards to feature films premiering on Netflix. Certain levels, like Bob Iger's mentioned in regards to live action Lady and the Tramp would work on Netflix. That'll get a cinematic release as well, get a run, you know, at the cinema as well, very limited. But in regards to Star Wars, you don't premiere your Star Wars films on Netflix. It's certainly a cinematic experience. That's the reason I go to the cinema for these certain films, you know, that have got the spectacle. Aquaman's a classic example. I certainly wouldn't have waited to watch that on TV. That had to be seen in the cinema. So it's just one of those things that certain films are made for the cinema. Star Wars as a whole, as a franchise, not the television stuff. I get that's well suited. It's episodic. It's going to go, and I don't know how many episodes it is for The Mandalorian. I can't remember.
I believe it's 10, Stephen. 10. I think it'll be the same for the Cassian Andor series as well. So
how long is each episode? Is it an hour long?
I think maybe about 45 minutes. But when you take into account advertisement breaks and stuff like that, it will be stretching up to an hour.
It's suited for that format, but feature films, no. I think somewhere down the line, once all the dust is settled, the Fox merger, etc., we're going to get episodes 1 to 9 on the streaming service. Once
he says that.
Once the release is, a few years down the line, and all the episodes you can watch them back to back. I can't wait to do that, actually.
Well, Bob does say that, Stephen, that never fear that these films will pop up on the streaming service eventually, but he's just not going to throw away over $200 million of box office earnings for putting it on the streaming service first. He's just not going to do it. That isn't Disney's business plan. They're still very much immersed in the traditional filmmaking and film-going experience. We've seen this disconnect between the likes of Netflix, Amazon, and the old school sort of you've seen it in Cannes in France.
Cannes Film Festival.
Cannes. So they still uphold their cultural laws and stuff like that. They think that film going and just going to the cinema, it's a communal experience. It should be enjoyed on a big screen, and they don't want films that deserve to be seen on a big screen being, I don't want to say ruined, but lessened by watching them on a smaller screen. Watching it on a smaller screen. They want people to go out and watch it and have a communal experience and maintain that credibility that the old film making and just the experience of going to cinema.
In The Force Awakens, those scenes with Harrison Ford and John Boyega, some of them are very funny, and you could hear the audience laughing at certain scenes. Did you just call me solo there? That kind of thing, about never lie to a woman. She'll always find out the truth in the end. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember. I've not seen it in a while, but it was there was great chemistry on screen with those two actors. Just for to give you an example, and you sensed the sort of mood in the cinema, and that's something that would be missed.
Exactly, and this is why Disney they've still got strong roots in the traditional side of things, and they've got every right to. And that's why they're going to continue releasing feature-length films, big budget feature-length films in the traditional way in a cinema, whilst releasing various different small-scale productions on their streaming service. They're kind of having their cake and eat it. They're doing a Netflix and they're appeasing the old school.
Can you imagine that and seeing it at The Force Awakens with Luke's reveal on a small screen?
It'd be terrible.
I remember, I've never been in a cinema that was so quiet at that moment.
Yeah.
Everyone was just so fixated on the screen to see this big reveal.
It's just a combination of the score, Steve, and the visuals. Just, as you said, the communal experience. It was almost like an out-of-body experience I'm doing myself at the service, Stephen. But we'll move on to the next topic. And this one's all about a potential Star Wars Episode 9 trailer. In verse, are throwing the dampeners on it, Stephen. They're saying that, let's face it, Star Wars Episode 9's trailer isn't coming until April. And they're theorising this purely based on history, Stephen, and analytical sides of things, where they're looking at the past release schedules. Out with The Force Awakens, which also had to set up the new sequel trilogy and a new generation of fans getting them immersed in it. Out with that, traditionally Disney apparently have released trailers in April. I don't know if that's true. Certainly they did for the Last Jedi. But what they're saying is, fear not, we'll get the title sometime this month. And I says to you, I don't give a shit about the title, Stephen. I want to see a trailer.
But you're not going to get that till you get the title, are you?
Exactly.
I think that's right, John. I think The Force Awakens, we had that one, John Boyega in the desert, popping his head up. We had the voiceover from Andy Serkis. That was in December 2014, I think. Was it? Was it it was about a year away from the release. But as you said, it was to reintroduce, the brand to a new generation. Build the hype up to a crescendo. And it did. I think the second trailer, the sort of full trailer, the one with Mark Hamill's narration over the top of it. You know, the one the wee speeders going along and you see the Star Destroyer.
The Force is strong in my family.
Pretty sure that was round about April time, and then the final one came in November or October time, I think it was. It was
very close to the release.
2 months away from the release of The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi, you're right. I'm sure there was one in April as well. I think it was the one overhead shot of Michael Skellig, you know, the island.
Yeah.
I think that was the one where
I think that was
Breathe,
just
that one.
Oh yeah.
I think that one. And then we get the full trailer, the one where the ground cracks.
Cracked, yeah.
It was the one where you know that opening shot. It looked like space, but it wasn't. It was just the shot fading in, and it was a rock. And Rey's hand appears on it.
It was a Jedi secret.
That was definitely April, so probably about right.
Well, we were discussing it, Stephen, just recently, and I think we both agreed that they probably would release the title at some point this month, early February, and we probably would get... I thought, personally, we would have got a small teaser, maybe late in this month, early, mid-February, and then we'd get a full trailer in April at Celebration, which is also the pinnacle of all things Star Wars, celebrating the franchise.
It's going to be interesting as well, because you've got to remember, not only is Episode 9 coming out in December, I don't know if it's October time, it's when the Disney streaming service is... It's
not been confirmed, but I think most people seem to be...
That's what they call the fall in the US. It's autumn over here. They've got to remember that they don't want to really overshadow that as well. I think they're going to try and maybe go for 2 trailers, one in April and possibly one nearer November time for its final sort of promotion before its release. But they've got that window in there where they don't want to really, put a damp squib on the Mandalorian. They certainly want to push that as well. I believe they will do that anyway, but I don't think it's going to confuse your average film goer either. That what's this? I thought this was Star Wars. Who are these people? I don't think it's going to confuse a lot of people.
Very different mediums, isn't it, Stephen?
I think as well how they're going to promote that, whether or not it'll go hand in hand with the promotion of the Disney streaming service. That'll be sort of at the forefront of it. This will be the sort of thing that will push the promotion of the streaming service, The Mandalorian. But I think that would be about right, John. I think we're going to get the title possibly in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not really bothered what it's called. There's been some howlers out there. I'm not really... I'll get over it because I still think the Phantom Menace is an Attack of the Clones is an absolute joke of a title. I don't like it. It doesn't make any sense. There's no clones attack, The Phantom
Unless you're in the
Menace...
Trade Federation side, on Geonosis and technically they do attack.
Who is the Phantom Menace, is it?
Phantom Menace, for me, was always Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine, yeah.
He's hovering around in the shadows.
A lot of people thought it might have been Darth Maul, but
no, he's not a menace, Stephen, and he certainly wasn't a Phantom. He was in broad daylight in the Tatooine desert, going hand-to-hand combat with Qui-Gon Jinn, so he certainly wasn't a Phantom, though. The Phantom Menace, without a shadow of a doubt, was Darth Sidious, aka Chief Palpatine, hovering around, looking for all the world like a very honourable and noble man, when deep down he was a very vindictive and nefarious figure.
Still don't like the title. I don't like the first 2 titles. No. Revenge of the Sith was a bit safe as well, wasn't it? It was a play on Return of Jedi. Yeah. But
poetry though, Stephen.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back is the best title, I think, still.
And it's the best film for me. Yeah. So.
But I don't really care. I just hope it's not that. What's it? The Sons
of Darkness, or the Son's the Son of Darkness.
No,
I hope there's not multiple Sons of Darkness.
That sounds terrible, doesn't it?
Unless it's revealed that Rey's actually a gender neutral, dark.
Her name is Rey, actually.
Well,
Raymondo,
yeah. Yes. Well, I've had my choice of the released speculated title, Stephen. It would surely be The New Order, because I just like that double entendre nature of it. It could be a play on the rise of the Resistance into a new order, or it could be the rise of the First Order.
I think a lot of people would like it to be episode 9. The last episode was it just a dream?
It was just a dream,
or a nightmare.
Dallas. Luke wakes up in a shower on the Act 2 and realises it was all a dream. Yeah, but look, I digress. We're getting sidetracked off into a tangent here, Stephen. I completely agree with you. I do think if they're going to release a full trailer for episode 9, then a Star Wars celebration in April, I believe it's in Chicago, will be the time and the place to do it, because it's just a celebration of all things Star Wars. That's the time to release the full trailer. I was just hoping in my heart of hearts that we'd get a small little teaser trailer, and part of me still thinks we will, perhaps in the middle of the Super Bowl.
Do you remember the last time they premiered a trailer at the celebration? It was Rogue One. and it was horrendous. We got this thing on a loop, and it wasn't. It was like a behind the scenes thing, wasn't it?
Turned out, Stephen, that wasn't a bad thing, because that trailer for Rogue One, half the stuff they seen, the footage was cut. It didn't make the final cut because, of course,
I've seen the light of day, has it? Apart from the people.
Yeah, well, I seen a short little snippet of it on YouTube, and it was just the silhouette of Vader, I believe, on the Death Star, which of course doesn't happen in Rogue One. He doesn't appear on the Death Star because he's off in Mustafar doing his thing in his cryogenic little chamber.
Yeah.
Better not say that, it's Disney. But digress, Stephen, we'll move on to the next and the final topic of this week's Force Friday show. It's coming from Wired. They do a short little thing on their website called Cantina Talk, where they discuss a whole host of speculation. We're not going to go through every single thing on Cantina Talk from Wired, just the one that catches our interest. And this one is that Star Wars will return in full force this year, of course, 2019. And basically the general gist of what they're saying, Stephen, is that because Star Wars essentially took a break from the middle of 2018 onwards, Bob Iger saying that we're slowing production down. A lot of people had their knives out for Kathleen Kennedy and poor old Ryan Johnson, who subsequently made a film called Knives Out. That isn't getting at the fans of Star Wars at all. But the general gist of Stephen is that...
I think he's done enough of that as well,
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, because it was so quiet in 2018, we haven't heard what's going to happen in this new phase of Star Wars, and we've not even heard what's going to be released after 2019 in terms of cinematic releases. But this is going to be the year where Star Wars becomes a powerhouse again, a cultural powerhouse, that we're going to see a whole host of potential film announcements, maybe when the Bainoff and Weiss films, when the Ryan Johnson trilogy, as a trilogy, when they're going to release in terms of dates, maybe future projects we don't know about yet. So what do you make of that?
Andor as well.
Cassian Andor.
They're going to really
we may have another TV show coming up on the horizon. So they're saying that this is a year of Star Wars again, 2019. Do you agree with Wired? Is this going to be the year of big Star Wars releases? Are they going to come back in to cultural prominence?
Yeah, I do think
I don't think they ever left cultural prominence.
I think the last 12 months, I don't agree with that. That it's been a quiet year for Star Wars. Certainly not in social media. The backlash after The Last Jedi in December 2017 lasted about 6 or 8 months. Solo came out as well, although it didn't do well. Via the box office, it was still an enjoyable film.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
We also got the negative stories that they were pulling any more of these Star Wars story standalones movies as well, which I was disappointed about. We weren't getting an Obi-Wan film, although there is a rumour going about. It's not on our list of topics today that Ewan McGregor still may appear as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 9. Deliberately left that one out because again it's going into the Mike Zero sort of territory, and I didn't want to
Steve, I've got to be honest with you, while we're on the quick subject of Obi-Wan, I would love to see, now that the standalones look as though they're done and dusted for now, I would love to see Obi-Wan popping up on a TV show on Disney Plus with that big budget, $100 million, $150 million production budget. Flesh out what happened to this guy between the Revenge of the Sith and the Force Awakens.
It would mean another...
the Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And A New Hope. Sorry, not the Force Awakens. He was dead. Long dead.
Still managed to reach out to Ray though, didn't he?
He did, yeah, exactly. But that came to nothing.
I don't know if I'd like that, John. I would love to see, maybe if they weren't doing the Cassian Andor one. The reason for that is because the Mandalorian and the Cassian Andor one are set in that time period of 20 years or whatever it is.
The Mandalorian, I think the Mandalorian's after Return of the Jedi, I believe. It's not long after the events of the Battle of Endor.
Well, it's not even 20 years then, because if you're talking about the Cassian Andor series taking place just prior to Rogue One, Rogue One picks up where, A New Hope picks up where Rogue One leaves. So you're only talking maybe about from A New Hope to Return of the Jedi when the Mandalorian starts. You're only talking maybe about 5 years.
It's all firmly in the focus of the Galactic Civil War.
Yeah, it's too close together. As much as I'd love to see that, John. In regards to this year, being a big year for Star Wars, I totally agree it is. It's the final film of the Skywalker saga. For now anyway. They've not actually said it's going to be the very last one ever. Certainly for this trilogy it is. We've got The Mandalorian coming out. You've got to remember as well the Resistance as well, the animated series is doing reasonably well. since its release.
I've not watched
and
a
then you've
single
got the other
episode.
mediums as well. I don't know what books are coming out yet, John. I know that you're a big reader of the Star Wars.
I've not been keeping up
books,
on the
but,
books very recently,
and
Stephen.
certainly there'll be a few coming out this year.
Yeah,
The
there will
comics
be.
as well. From what I gather, some of the comics have been very,
Yeah, the Darth Vader comic's been very, very intriguing.
Well
The
received,
way they've
you
been
know.
diving into that guy's psyche and just what he was doing in Mustafar and stuff like that, it's been very, very interesting.
We talked about this in previous podcasts, John, in regards to
it's been consistently one of the best comic book runs.
what his state of mind is and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know, it's another thing that they can certainly do in a TV series as well. I would like to see this sort of a fleshed out Vader.
Yeah.
We've not seen. I know that you've heard the stories of hunting down the Jedi, but we've not seen it. Apart from those scenes in the temple at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we've not really seen much
I always
of that.
recall that book. I believe it was Lords of the Sith, when it was him and Palpatine.
Yeah.
Or Sidious, whatever the hell you want to call him, Stephen, on the Twi'lek planet. I can't remember the name right now off the top of my head, but that was incredible. Just seeing that dynamic between those two, how they were bouncing off each other. Vader always had moments of like, I can take him, and then the Emperor would just sense it and slap him down. And just the action sequences of him just floating, crashing his TIE fighter, jumping out, floating through space, getting in through holes and just tearing it up. It was incredible. It was basically what we got in Rogue One at that end.
Yeah.
The sequence. So I would love to see more of that for Vader. I'd love to see them announce something with Vader while James Earl Jones, I was about to say Earls, is still with us, Stephen. He's that great man's dulcet tones while we still can. But it's going to, I firmly believe it will be a big year for Star Wars. I don't think it's ever left cultural.
After 2019 though, John, just going back to your question, I don't think we're going to get a cinematic release in 2020. I think what we're going to get is a Cassian Andor television series. Possibly something else will be announced. I think the Buying Off and Wise stuff will probably be 2021, probably the first release. And I don't know whether or not they're going to intersperse them in between the Rian Johnson films as well. Not really heard much about the Rian Johnson films since it was announced. Whether or not it's shelved or not, it's not been announced that it's been shelved, but certainly it's been very quiet.
What they could do though, if they don't announce release dates though, Stephen, with those films, is give us a sense of where they're going to be set, the period and time, and just the characters and what they're potentially going to be doing. So that's something they certainly could do if indeed they don't go down the route of it and giving us firm dates and stuff like that. They could give us details of the various different films they're going to be involved in. But look, it's all very intriguing, it's all speculation heavy. We'll know one thing's for sure come April when we get Celebration on my doorstep, and we'll hopefully get a whole host of announcements, Stephen, which will keep us talking and not giving away off in tangents. I don't think you've got much more to add. I've certainly not got much more to add, so that's going to bring up the end of this week's Force Friday show, where we have discussed hopefully a whole host of interesting Star Wars topics. If you're enjoying this content we're putting out, then don't forget to comment down below, like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back on Tuesday with Box Office Chat.